One of the most frequent questions I'm asked is, what is your favorite Mario Odyssey kingdom? I always say my favorite is Lost Kingdom, but that's only half true. My real favorites are the ones from before the game's release. God, this book is heavy. The Art of Super Mario Odyssey was a book published in 2019 by Nintendo and features concept art and early designs for the entire game. Every single kingdom. Most all are drastically different from their final iteration in game. So let's take a deep dive look at all of the cut content of these kingdoms, and along the way, rank all of it on this handy dandy tier list. We'll be ranking them by potential and unique ideas. So, time to see which kingdom is the best.
Here in my
Super Mario Odyssey concept art
book report!
With a crash landing. Welcome to the foggy land of Cap Kingdom. Or maybe foggy isn't the right descriptor at all. Take a look at this bright green and sunny environment, feeling far more like home in the Mushroom Kingdom than the final game's Cap Kingdom. As awesome as this design is, and as much as I want to play this as an actual level, it definitely doesn't fit the story or tone that made the real Cap Kingdom so good. What could pull up this kingdom's ranking? London Cap Kingdom. Top Hat Tower takes the form of a clock tower. Hat ships fly above, seeming to be alive this time around. Just looking at this instantly gets me excited to play the level, and fits much better narratively into the game's story than the last concept. This is foreign from the Mushroom Kingdom, just like the Cap Kingdom we know and love. Alright, let's reel it back in a bit and look at some concept art closer to the final game's kingdom. It looks like the designers were having a bit of a battle over the plants and colors in this kingdom. This design guide is full of notes on what the kingdom was planned to look like. The hat ship homes would have had more variety of accent colors, before being reduced to simply this golden trim. Even more notably than the trims, these lamppost-styled trees were a very common motif in the early designs, shown in nearly all this other artwork. Bush versions of them are even present in this almost final map of the kingdom in place of the fence railing. This point is even more accentuated in this drawing of a dark green Cap Kingdom, or either of these, showcasing the kingdom full of deep, radiant blues and purples. The latter of those two heavily reminds me of A Nightmare Before Christmas, and that is absolutely a good thing. The branching trees are even pulled into Top Hat Tower itself, being climbable from the outside. This would have been so much fun to explore. Wait, I just noticed something. Moon. I want to make it particularly large and appealing. Perhaps capturable depending on the situation. Were they considering letting you capture the moon? That's so incredibly cool, and would have fit so well into the game's story. Not sure if this capture would have been specific to Cap Kingdom or like a broader concept, but either way, this is absolutely bumping this kingdom up the tier list. Cap Kingdom has earned a rightful spot up in A tier for the fascinating glimpse into London, the gorgeous trees, the gorgeous hues, and the idea of capturing the dang moon. Taking the wire over to Cascade Kingdom, we've got a lot less art to look at for this kingdom. That being said, quantity doesn't equal quality, and oh boy does the quality show. Starting off, this beauty. The abundance of waterfalls flowing... The abundance of waterfalls... Why can I not speak all of a sudden? Waterfalls... What the heck? The abundance of waterfalls flowing through the gaps in the walls create shallow lakes that the player could wade through, along with an early design of Madame Brood waiting... Why? Along with an early design of Madame Brood waiting atop the highest point. This waterfall-ridden look clearly wasn't just a one-off either. We've got a whole nother angle on the scene. The stage is littered with way more bone structures. The tailbone road running through the waterfall would be extremely fun to platform across, way more so than the generic platforms and clouds behind the waterfall. Completely contrasting all of that, here we can see massive expanses to explore, with a large variety of different dinosaurs roaming the landscape. This open world design reflects what players see in Sand Kingdom, but I absolutely would have loved to see this more open approach to designing Cascade as well. Plus, having a larger variety of dinosaurs you could capture would be way too much fun. This open world design is also referenced in a designer note by Rakuto Yoshida. We also hope to create a dramatic contrast to what players previously experienced in the Cap Kingdom. Moving from a closed-off monochrome space to this vivid natural expanse gives the uplifting feeling of embarking on a great adventure. So, that's the concept art for Cascade Kingdom. Only a small handful of pieces, but they're a peek into a world so incredibly different from what we know nowadays. This has earned a rightful spot next to Cap Kingdom and A tier. Well done, Cascade Kingdom. With 5 power moons, it's time to fly over to the frosty desert of Sand Kingdom. You know the drill at this point. Some of this art is super indicative of the final product, while others show things completely unheard of. All of the art resembling the final game is located on this spread of pages, and while it is gorgeous, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. The cactus guy in this one is absolutely adorable, and the floating pyramid in both of these designs is actually upright instead of inverted, including a bunch of ice coming off the bottom. Where this gets fascinating is with a flip of a page, showing tons of designs influenced by completely different cultures and parts of the world. These cute little desert dome houses seem to be inspired by Aztec architecture, in contrast to Tostarena Town's Mexican Day of the Dead inspired architecture. This version of the desert is full of deep, frosty blues, feeling like way more of a blend between an ice and desert level than the random ice spikes in the final version. This structure in the distance looks like a frozen wave from the ocean, making a giant inward curving mountain. If that isn't cool enough for you, we've got a whole pyramid town to visit, on the back of a camel. Moving down to the next one, another frosty feeling. Notice the flying Goombas, the torrential snow pouring down, and the floating ice dotting the landscape, matching the floating inverted pyramid. Speaking of the pyramid, it is adorned with a much larger and villainous-looking sphinx. Could the Sphinx have originally been the boss of this kingdom? It looks quite possible, seeing how we have this red-eyed Sphinx and this sand-drenched catacomb as well. Quick, important side note, take a look at the background here. This looks like some form of Power Moon rocket ship. Keep this in mind, it'll be very relevant later. Now, before we give this one a ranking, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. This isn't actually from the art book, but I can't make a video like this and not bring it up. This is one of the only kingdoms we have an actual gameplay screenshot of from early development. Isn't that neat? Back on subject, it's clear the entire tone of this kingdom shifted over time, moving from evil sphinxes in a frozen land to a warmer tone, with Jaxi to carry you on your way. If you need any more evidence that this kingdom is one hell of an S tier, we even got a look at earlier versions of the 2D sections, using both a voxel pixel style as well as a CRT TV filter. Yeah, this kingdom has earned an S tier placement. What a better way to follow up the massive success that was Sand Kingdom than with the first disappointment of the video. I went into Lake Kingdom's artwork with hope that there was something more waiting under the surface to discover, but honestly, there really wasn't. Don't get me wrong, All of this artwork of the kingdom is absolutely gorgeous, and there's a few small ideas and differences that don't match the final game. Like, take a look at this early NPC and the cool statue with a pitchfork, or this traditional castle placed inside a dome that looks straight out of the Mushroom Kingdom. That's about all I have to say for Light Kingdom. Let's just get a move on and hope that Wooded Kingdom can pick up the pace. C tier for Lake. Welcome to Steam Gardens. And unfortunately, we're in a pretty similar position to Lake Kingdom. We've got lots of pretty concept art, along with some cool sketches of the world and T-Rex, but nothing too substantial. A handful of pieces depict these glowing piranha plant balls way up in the trees. I really wish we got to see these in the actual kingdom. They remind me a lot of the Fireflower field from the Mario movie with that sparkly glow. And unfortunately, that's about all I have to say. Wait a minute. Tucked in the corner of page 138 is this floating island design? The faucet pouring water down the river, wooden planks making a bridge, the windmill building seeming to be a shipwrecked boat, the river pouring down to some secret cave. Ooh, I want to get exploring here already. This easily bumps it up into upper B tier for me. Well done, Wooded Kingdom. Hop in your sky ship, that's also an early design of the Odyssey, and fly ourselves up to Cap Kingdom. Wait, I said Cap Kingdom. If the clouds are known for anything, it's for being the home to the climactic midpoint Bowser battle. And, yeah, that's about it. Does this concept art deliver on many people's dream of having Cloud Kingdom as a more fleshed out, fully playable stage? Well, absolutely it does. First, take a look at this more gladiatorial styled arena, much grander. Also, it's super hard to spot, but you can see Mario riding a Lakitu cloud in the bottom corner. This would have been awesome to see, cause the closest you can get to that is the fishing capture. Woo! Fishing! And even cooler than the gladiator arena, take a look at this waterfall dotted scene. The golden yellows of the sky and blue of the trees build such a gorgeous atmosphere. With mountains to scale and power moons to reach, this really is a glimpse into what could have been if this kingdom got to be something more than just a boss fight. Actually, small headcanon that I have no evidence for, the cascading waterfalls remind me a lot of the early design for Cascade Kingdom we looked at earlier. It would have been incredibly neat if this kingdom was located right above Cascade, providing water falling down through a giant sky waterfall. I'll place this right above Wooded Kingdom for now in the tier list, in the current top of B tier. Oh, what a hard landing. Good morning, Lost Kingdom. I'll do my best to hold back my bias, considering Lost is my personal favorite kingdom. Well, this might be the most accurate art to game conversion of the entire book. Sure, the colors changed a bit, the plants had a little bit of a shakeup, but overall, this still looks just like Lost Kingdom. I'm honestly quite happy about that. My bias is showing. Though, considering we're ranking the kingdoms by potential and concepts, unfortunately, this means this one isn't looking too great for the ranking. First, take a look at these early designs for the ground pound platforms and spinning platforms. The final wooden design looks hand-built by some form of civilization, but these feel far more primitive and natural. Honestly prefer this stone look, and this isn't at all relevant to the ranking, but I wanted to show something really funny. On page 165, this piece of art features a mouse cursor in the image. This would have been funny enough on its own, accidentally leaving a mouse cursor in the image, but this actually holds a neat little secret. This exact cursor design is called the AGL cursor and is unused in the files of Mario Odyssey. This leftover cursor likely proves that some of the art in this book is just drawings on top of early development gameplay screenshots. That's all I've got to say about Lost. Great kingdom, great artwork, but not nearly as much to dive into like lots of the previous kingdoms. I'll throw it in B tier, right below Wooded. Feels about right. Oh boy, we've reached the big one. The face of the entire game, Metro Kingdom. There is so much stuff to look at. We're gonna need to bump up the pace. The first page is full of designs and sketches that feel pretty close to the final kingdom. They feel grander in size than the final stage, but it's difficult to tell if that's a product of the camera angles and style or an actually bigger stage. The next page is where this gets super interesting. We're greeted by our lovely neighborhood bench friend. Hi, bench friend. Nice to see him here, and in such a pretty location nonetheless. Next, Mario approaches a door to a back alley named Bar Shine, guarded by a clouder of cats holding onto a power moon. The word shine is used to refer to power moons in the game's files, so this translates to Bar Moon, or more likely, Moon Bar. The walls have various bits of cute graffiti, and it seems like Peach is standing beside Mario. Maybe Peach would have played a more important role after completing the story? Going up, an elevator. The friendly Goombas with their paperwork and man standing by the exit make for such a fun tone. It would have been a lot of fun to have a rideable elevator in this kingdom, especially such big distances as 26 floors. Funny note here, not only do Chargin' Chucks not appear in this kingdom, but also this image of the Chargin' Chuck is just a reused render that you can find on Google. Quick editing note here. What I just said is completely incorrect. The Chargin' Chuck in the concept art and the render that you can find on Google are definitely not the same. You can tell the head is at a slightly different angle, has that light blue band on the arm. No matter how much I looked, I couldn't find where this render might have been from, but I'm still pretty sure it is a 3D render and not just like a drawing. So if you manage to find it, let me know, because I'm curious and I can't find it anywhere. That's all. Back to the video, bye! Mario also pokes out of a manhole cover, looking out at a city based on Nintendo's history, including the Super Famicom and N64 logos on the buildings. 2 more Mario-themed cities follow, though a little less overt than the last. Remember the foreshadowing back in Sand Kingdom? Take a look at the background here. This looks like some form of Power Moon rocket ship? Well, that comes full circle with a closer look at the rocket ship, standing front and center. Up in the sky, we have a real airplane, not a hat ship or a sail car, just a straight up plane. Is this rocket ship just an early design for the Odyssey, or is it something more? Could Metro have been a hub world where you work to build a rocket to reach the moon? Hard to say from so little information, but one of the most interesting pieces of this whole kingdom for sure. In case that wasn't enough to get your mind whirring, the next page has a full map of the entire kingdom, and it looks nothing like the real deal. Let's break down this map one section at a time. Starting at the entrance, we have a large pier and boat dock. This really helps explain the building you land on before taking the wire over. If you took all of the water from the base of the kingdom and raised it to near the street level, this section would have been a place for boats to dock. Heading up the street a bit, we can see the park is not located right next to the entrance anymore. If we go down this set of streets over here, this looks way more reminiscent of Central Park in New York City as well. Following the street along the park is a palm tree shoreline and path towards the center of the city, raised up on a big pedestal. Heading to the east from here would be the edge of the kingdom in the game, but here we have... oh my gosh, it's the bridge! This giant bridge always caught my attention from the background of this kingdom, looking incredibly fun to explore, but being forever out of reach. Turns out, in the original plans, the bridge was actually a part of the level. Imagine using an electric wire or jumping across the supports of this giant bridge. All right, we've spent way too long on Metro Kingdom already. Let's wrap this chapter up. A set of different architecture styles, New Donk City Hall with an awesome text monument, a ton of designs for the underground power plant, a collection of advertisement billboards for different kingdoms, which refers to Cap Kingdom's Bonneton as Cubron, Cascade Kingdom's Fossil Falls as Dynafor, Sand Kingdom's Toast Arena as Achichnia, and Lake Kingdom's Lake Lamode as Dressy Very. A massive set of graffiti designs, which would look sick as tattoos, an awesome light bulb bug version of the Mechawiggler, 2D City People, a guitarist version of Rosalina, Bowser Kid. Whew. We're done with Metro Kingdom. It took a lot of restraint to not talk about this one kingdom for any longer than we already have. I don't think there's any debate about it. Metro Kingdom gets one hell of an S tier. Let's cool off, literally, over in Snow Kingdom. There's one part of this kingdom that's always irked me. The overworld in Shiveria Town feels so disconnected, and due to being so separate, it makes both of them feel emptier than they should. This concern was clearly not an issue of concept though, since nearly every single depiction of Snow Kingdom here had both sections of the kingdom merged into one. Two of these pieces depict the town as pits dug out into the snow, with glowing windows and quaint wooden doors for each Shiverian to live. Or whatever species this traveler or resident might be. Taking a look at this giant vertical piece, we see a group of classic Mario-style penguins on the ice, near a power moon in the cave. I can already see people dropping those penguins off a cliff. Above the moon, a set of Typhoos blow across the ice. There seems to be some form of snowman boss able to make dangerous snowballs and throw them across the terrain. The sunglasses he's wearing are hella cool. The left side of the mountain depicts teeth-shaped ice spikes, maybe a callback to the various dinosaur bone structures from the early art of Cascade Kingdom. The climb is topped off with a small glacier igloo village, which seems to be the home of some sentient ice blocks. A boat-shaped version of the Odyssey flies above the whole scene. Aside from some architecture concepts for Shiveria Town itself, that's all we got to look at for Snow Kingdom. What a fantastic showing for such a small kingdom. I bet Snow wouldn't be so many people's least favorite if they found a way to capitalize on the great ideas presented here. A tier. Seaside Kingdom, the luxurious sea resort of Bublane. We can pretty easily divide the art for this kingdom into two categories: Big Pretty and Big Surprise. While I don't have much to discuss for the pretty ones in the context of this video, do enjoy the wonderful sights. As for big surprises, there are two. Starting with the big and obvious one, take a look at this beauty. Centering around a glass with a royal crown design are 4 water streams. Instead of these streams just being simple shortcuts to the top of the glass, they hold up entire islands. Seaside Kingdom already feels quite segmented with its spread of islands surrounding the fountains. If those islands were raised up upon the fountains, that would lead to some of the most unique and fun gameplay in the game. Of course, I saved the bigger surprise for last: Ghost Ship. Now, look, I am extremely biased here. Mario Odyssey didn't get a single spooky level, or ghost house, or even just a Boo cameo, and I absolutely love my horror. This design is absolutely masterful. It maintains the quaint luxury of the seaside beach while creating a completely unique experience out in the water. And this isn't a Boo ghost house like you'd expect from Mario. Take a closer look. Ghosts that temporarily disappear when struck with your hat. Realistic ghost boss. Realistic pirate ship. I'm Sure, some of you out there prefer the modern iteration of Seaside Kingdom to this, but that doesn't include me. This is absolutely incredible, and the potential of an open world horror kingdom while keeping the contrast of the shoreline. Now, do these designs truly deserve an S tier? Probably not, but my video, my tier list, into the S tier it goes. Still, doesn't beat out Metro, though. That one was absolutely insane. Ooh, it's hot. Welcome to Luncheon Kingdom. Considering this is one of the largest kingdoms in the entire game, right alongside Sand Kingdom and Metro Kingdom, it looks like we've got another S tier on our hands. Well, I hate to bring on the bad news, but this might be the least interesting set of concept art for this video. All the art looks great. Super pretty, but it so accurately reflects the design of the final kingdom that there's almost nothing for us to talk about here. Let's see what I can scrounge up. Oh, hey, this fork is kind of weird. Resembles a swing pole like from Wooded Kingdom. Maybe the forks were originally just terrain before turning into captures? This pouting tomato is really cute. I don't know, man. Luncheon Kingdom is going down to C tier, right above Lake Kingdom, and it's only beating Lake Kingdom due to the quantity of art. Rumble Crumble. Say hi to Ruined Kingdom's Crumbledon. This kingdom stands out alongside Cloud Kingdom for just being a glorified boss arena with very little content to explore. Does Ruined Kingdom live up to what Cloud managed to do earlier in this video? The environment art pretty much perfectly matches the final game, and shows almost no sign of originally being planned as anything bigger than it is. This really is a shame. I bet we were all hoping to find some signs of the incredible world this place could have been. That being said, this kingdom is not without some gorgeous artwork. I mean, seriously, just take a moment to appreciate how fantastic this stuff is. We have a whole treasure trove of dragon designs, ranging from a Chinese-style dragon surrounded in blue sparks, to an Aztec-style dragon with traditional fire breath, to another fire dragon crawling up close and imposing, to a dude? Whoever decided to pitch their Dungeons & Dragons character as the dragon design for a Mario game, I have nothing but respect for you, good sir. Only other thing I have to mention while we're here is this design mock-up for the Burbos. There's nothing wrong with it, but the way it's formatted is really funny to me. Looks like a weird-ass meme. I was so distracted by the weird formatting of this image that I completely ignored the background, and it looks like a low poly, low resolution version of the dragon. I think this might be an early gameplay screenshot of Ruined Kingdom. I have no idea, it just looks weird and I should have mentioned it in the script. Oops. Back to the video. And that's that. Managed to be a bit of a disappointment in the usual areas, but absolutely proved itself when it came to the dragon. Definitely a tough call. Gonna go with lower middle B tier. That feels about right. We've only got 3 kingdoms left to go. Welcome to Bowser's. As the build-up to the game's finale, it seems logical that this kingdom would have undergone revision after revision, but just like Ruined Kingdom before this, they locked in their plans and kept to their concepts. Only have 2 small things to note. First, who the heck is this guy? Glowing yellow face with a giant spiky dick? Glowing yellow face with a giant spiky stick? I assume that this is the precursor to the Stairface Ogre, but I don't really have a way to be sure of that. The other standout piece, the Lakitus up in the sky seem to be carrying bow and arrows, which would have made for fantastic enemies to dodge as you parkour through the level, and super fun captures to snipe targets and enemies from afar. The clouds on the ground are specifically noted as resembling a folding screen painting, which explains why that random folding 2D section in the back of the shop exists. That's about all we got for Bowser's. Not terrible, but also far from the best we've seen today. bottom of B tier for me. Let's hope that this dry spell of fairly mediocre findings can wrap up shop for our next stage. Moon Kingdom. Will this lunar landing long to lure our letdown lungs? Let's go see. Oh my god, it's beautiful. The space colony on one side covered in domes, the ships floating above it, the calming orange-tinted surface, Mario standing with a flag to mark his arrival, the landing pads popped up beside. This is a magical place and atmosphere that would have turned the desolate wasteland of the moon into a thriving science fiction utopia. Continuing onward, the NPCs of Moon Kingdom are, well, non-existent. But they had plans for them written down on these little just-in-case sketches. Looks like it was torn between realistic-style people in spacesuits, quite like Metro Kingdom civilians, and rabbits, shown offering Mario to help out, pounding some mochi. Mochi are a type of Japanese treat made by pounding dough. They're really good. Do recommend. It looks like a traditional church wasn't the only option for Peach and Bowser's wedding. Starting on the bottom, we have these Goombas pounding mochi. Looks like even after the rabbit NPCs were removed, they still wanted to keep the mochi hammers around. Over on the right, we have... oh hey, look! It's that spaceship from Sand and Metro again. And, of course, we have the fortress with a bright, big power moon up on top. I definitely understand not using this design to keep Bowser's and Moon Kingdom more distinct from each other, but that doesn't make this not really awesome. Combine all of that with some gorgeous art of the smoldering moon cave, shining wedding chapel, and showdown escape with Bowser, and we've got ourselves a wonderful kingdom as our second to last. This will be safely plopped right here in A tier. At last, only one more kingdom to go before we've finished. Home, sweet home. Welcome back to the Mushroom Kingdom. This area had a pretty solid idea locked in from the beginning. An expanded version of the outside of Peach's castle from Super Mario 64. That being said, this doesn't mean they didn't have other ideas. We're greeted with this enormous spread of art showcasing a full Mushroom Kingdom town. Different toads go about their daily life and chat with Mario. Comparing this to the random toad ship next to the fountain being the only infrastructure, this is absolutely fantastic. Also, we have this random Pokemon-looking NPC just hanging out. I'm gonna name him Carrie. Most of what follows is more depictions of the same Mushroom Kingdom ideas. However, this is absolutely gorgeous. The strange cubic spikes dotting the distant landscape, the rolling white hills, the town built out of gigantic patterned spikes. I never in a million years would say that this fits well for Mushroom Kingdom specifically, but for some magical DLC kingdom called Spikeian Kingdom, this would have been incredibly fun to explore. And with sliding Mushroom Kingdom comfortably into center B tier, we can wrap up this giant tier list and giant deep dive into the history and wonders of the Mario Odyssey design team. This book was incredible to see the passion and ideas just pouring out of this design team. And hey, now that I'm looking at Mario Odyssey from the perspective of an artist, not a programmer, I can truly say that I love Super Mario Odyssey. Never mind.